Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of Fit Chicks Chat. My name is Laura Jackson.
And I'm Amanda Quinn.
And in today's episode, we are talking about nutrition.
Yeah. I always love our nutrition talks because even though I am educated in nutrition, I'm not certified in the area. And you always teach me something. Like every single time that we're talking about it, I learn something different and I incorporate it. Like when we were talking about like the rancid fats, which is like one of my favorite episodes ever because I love saying rancid fat. I learned about
The
how to
rancid
store
fats.
I learned how to store like all of my foods, like my oils and my butters and stuff. And like, just, I don't know, like there's just these little tidbits that I always learn. So I always get really pumped whenever this is like what we're focusing on. So let's dive in.
Yeah, and I love talking about too, because I mean, as many of you know who listen, I am a certified nutritionist and also I'm the lead educator on our holistic nutrition weight loss expert program. So I mean, I talk about this a lot, like obviously with our students and things like that, but on the podcast, you know, we talk about so many other things that I love it when we get to kind of do a little focus on it. So today we're going to talk about something actually that I do teach in the holistic nutrition weight loss expert program. And I've actually been teaching this for years and years and years to our Fit Chicks members, even in my own life. And this has been like a cornerstone of one of the ways that I've always eaten in like just in terms of health, but also when it comes to fat loss, because I know a lot of the questions that we get from people who listen, and also obviously our program is all about how to get the body in balance, like with healthy fat loss, is like, what are actual strategies that I can use? Because the thing I find with like the nutrition world is that we tend to talk a lot about like concepts, you know what I mean? Like, oh, you know, like to do with like how maybe the body burns calories, or like the whole idea of like if your thyroid's not functioning, or all of these different things, but we don't actually talk about things that like the how, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, you don't give people like the step-by-step. This is one thing that I was actually just talking about this weekend at the conference that I was speaking at. And I was talking about, it's similar to what you're saying, because I was saying how like, the thing is that oftentimes what we're doing is we're giving people just like, oh, just follow this, but we're not educating them enough to understand how to actually do it on their own, how to incorporate it into their own lifestyle. So same thing with nutrition. It's like how to take, like, yeah, I could follow this diet plan, but then how do I actually understand it enough to be able to incorporate it into my life?
And like, and how can you actually like realistically do it? You know what I mean? Like, it's very easy. Like when you've got these programs, right? Like, you know, even right now, the keto diet is still super hot. And like in theory, when you read it, you're like, yeah, I could totally do this. Like I could cut out all of my carbohydrates. Yeah, I love like avocados and I love butter and I love all these things. I could totally eat those every single day, day in and day out. And like, you know what I mean? Like I could go to,
and they're cool with it.
well, no, but they're also like, oh, I could go to restaurants and do this. But in all reality, like the majority of people, there's very few people who A, will thrive on that, and B, it will actually work with their lifestyle. So that's something that we always talk about, like in the academy, and we talk about like with our clients and our students, is like, yes, you got to find something that truly works, but you also have to find something that actually you can do. And that's the magic. That's the magic piece. It's like, what can you actually do for the rest of your life that does not feel like you are constantly on a diet? And we're going to have a podcast coming up about cheat meals, which I cannot wait to talk about, because like whether I'm for it or against it, you're going to have to wait to find out. But it's just like, it has to be something that, you know, you can keep a positive relationship with food and with your life and actually be able to do it. And I know you and I have talked before about that. There was a study that was done about the high fat. They followed a group of 609 people. One group was following like the high fat, and one group was following like a higher carbohydrate, lower fat diet. And they followed them for, I believe it was 12 weeks. And, you know, right now, because the whole buzz is around that, like these high fat,
low carb,
are the way to go. After they followed these two groups of people, at the end, they saw that they lost the exact same amount of weight. And the main thing though, that was key to it was, number one, they ate real whole foods. Number two, they did something that worked with their lifestyle. And number three, it was something that they could actually stick to. So I found that so fascinating.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I truly believe, and I know we're going to dive into like more of this stuff, but I truly believe that it's like, it's all about being really consistent as well. Like, it's such a key part of any kind of like, if weight loss is your goal, it's all about consistency. And like, just jumping back though, one thing, when you were talking about like how keto is the hot thing and like how everyone could be like, yeah, I could do it forever. do you know how many people I know personally that are like doing the keto diet? And I'm doing quotations right now because they're like, every other day pretty much I hear them say to me like, oh, I'm not ketoing today.
Yeah, like it's
I'm like, but like that's the thing. Like, because the reason why they're saying I'm not ketoing, and then number one, it's like they can't do it because they can't do it every day because it's so hard, because it's like there's other things in life that you want to enjoy when it comes to food, or that you want to try, or that you want to like go out for dinners and stuff, and you don't want to feel so restricted. And then the other thing is that, and this is the part that I think is super negative about it, is that when they say to me, I'm not ketoing today, it's like this sense of failure.
yeah.
Like they're not even saying it from a place of like, oh, it's cool. Like it's not like, oh, I just eat fluidly. It's like, I'm not ketoing today. So whatever, and then they usually go like bananas and start eating just like carbs.
Oh, I know. And that's why I can't wait.
Which is like the dream, really. But
I can't wait to do the podcast. I want to talk about like cheat meals.
yeah.
Because yeah, and I totally agree. And so the whole concept that we're going to talk about today is a strategy, like I said, that I've used for years with myself. So what a lot of people don't know is that, you know, I used to be almost 50 pounds heavier than I am now. And I changed my life and I've kept it off for over 8 years. And through that though is, you know, I still have a life, I still travel, I still drink, I still go through phases where I am not focused on my health. I go through phases where I'm super focused on my health, depending on what's going on. But when you have these like kind of core strategies that you can come back to, I'm a huge believer in preparation, because like if you are not prepared for things, when shit goes awry and life gets crazy, you will resort to the easiest thing possible. And usually those are negative things. So when you have these like strategies, you already are set up. So when things go crazy, then you know, okay, I've got this, like I can still go back to it. And it's not, to me, it's funny because it's not like the buzz and it's not like this magic pill. They're just simple strategies that anyone can do. So we are going to talk about one strategy that I use today called the Core 4. Dun, dun, dun. I love it because before I didn't have a name for it. And then this year we were actually writing the book, writing one of our books for Fit Chicks Academy on the top 5 fat loss secrets to jumpstart 2019. And I was like, oh, I want to talk about this, but I'm like, it needs something like more buzzworthy name. And then, so that's where the Core 4 came from. But
Core 4, because it is a strategy.
Yeah. Like, so basically what the Core 4 is, it is your 4 basic plan meals. So I know that doesn't sound very sexy and really, no, but really it's kind of not, but
that's
it's
why you needed to come up with a Core 4.
But it's something we don't pay attention to. So when I talk about the Core 4, they're like your minimum meals. They're like the four meals. So a breakfast, a lunch, a dinner, and a snack that you literally will always have the ingredients for it in your house. It's going to be super easy to make. And I'm going to give you guys some planning guidelines, but it's super easy to make. And it's something that you really enjoy eating. Like it should take you like 5 minutes to make. And the whole purpose of this Core 4 is that when you rush in the house and you are like, oh my gosh, I'm starving, what can I eat? So you're not going to go, you know, making this random, like when I was in high school, I remember I'd come home from school, I had major food issues. And I would come home from school and it would be like, I would be starving because I was a teenager too. And I remember just like filling my plate, like taking things out of the cupboard. I'd take cookies out of the cupboard. Then I'd have like leftover spaghetti. Then I'd be having like peanut butter on toast. Then I'd be having like some cheese. Like I'd be eating so much random stuff because I was hungry and I just needed something before dinner. I didn't know what to eat. You know what I mean? Like, so when you
funny because you're like, when I was in high school, I did this. I'm like, I still do that sometimes, because there's times where like I get home and I'm like, it happened to me actually yesterday. I got home from, you know, I spoke at the conference all morning, and then I get home and I'd been driving. I hadn't eaten breakfast before I left just because it was super early and I was like just rushing it, whatever. And I got home and I was like, I am so hungry. I don't know what to eat. And then I was like eating a cheese string while I was like making food. But I've gotten better at it because I only ate one cheese string, while I was making the food that I was planning on eating. So it wasn't like, it was just like I knew I needed to eat something in that moment, or else I would have eaten all the snacks.
No, but that's why, I mean, that's one thing, is to have like a snack while you're eating. But like, I mean, when you're just like, you're ravenous and you're just grabbing stuff, because for me now it's so ingrained in me that I'm like, okay, I barely, like I have I'm so hungry, I need something right now, I have my core four as like my backup that I know I can create them like so quickly. And I'm still in line with my plan. I'm still in line with the way I want to eat for my goals and the way I want to eat for health, the way I want to eat for energy. So basically, like, so think about it. Like we all have a meal, right? Like, so for breakfast, what would be something that you eat regularly? People are creatures of habit, right? So we tend to do and like and eat the same things. That's why a lot of nutrition plans actually too, just a side note, really, I find like really fail, whether it be a nutrition plan or a weight loss plan, because they try to give you like 12 different recipes throughout the week. And it's like, no, dude, I eat the same thing for breakfast pretty much every day, or I alternate between two things.
It's funny that you say that, because remember the plan I was on recently, and it was like, I remember I went back to the trainer and I was like, like there was like 4 different grains per day I had to make. I was like, that's too much. Like, can I just eat just brown rice? Like, can I just not eat quinoa or bulgur or like all these? Can I avoid all those and just eat the brown rice? It was like, no. And I was like, well, this is too hard. This is too much. Like it was too much prep and too much time that I was like, I can't commit to doing that. And so, yeah. So when you're asking though, like, what is my creature of habit? You know me well enough to know that I eat pretty much the same thing every single day, every single week, day in, day out. Because
well, it's like in theory,
I like it. It like, it doesn't, I don't get bored with food like that. And also it's like, I just know that it's like really simple. It simplified my life, and that's how I have to eat.
Well, no, but most people, like 90% of people are like that. Like in theory, we want variety, but in actuality, we are all creatures of habit. So like what I always say when it comes to variety too, is that we do want to add some variety, right? Like, because each food provides a different amount of vitamins and minerals and like proteins, fats, fibers, all this stuff, right? So we don't want to be just say eating spinach for the rest of our life. But like, for example, if you said brown rice is your thing, if you make brown rice for the batch for 3 days, and the next time you go to make a batch, instead of making brown rice, make quinoa. You know what I mean? So it's like, it doesn't need to be every meal needs to be variety, but look at it almost like in blocks of days. Cause like, even for me, like same thing, like I eat, well, the core four, I've got my core four, which no matter what though, even though these are my go-to meals, if I'm in a pinch, they're also pretty much what I eat generally as my main meals.
You're not in a pinch. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, it's my basic plan. It's my basic plan. And so what it is though, based on, so it's kind of like, okay, so even when in the book, which we'll put a link on the website to download the book, there's a sheet to fill out, and it's like to fill out your basic core 4 meals, and it'll give you the planning guidelines. Mm-hmm. But basically it's very simple to build them. So the first thing is that your meal, it has to be a protein, a fiber, and a healthy fat. Now we've talked about this a ton on this podcast. We call it the complete and 3 rule. And this way you're going to make sure that you're eating balanced. You're balancing blood sugar. You're getting enough of each of the macronutrients. You're also going to get a wide variety of vitamins and minerals, and you're going to be feeling fuller longer. So that way we make sure like we've got that off the list. Mm-hmm. The second thing is it has to be the appropriate portion size for you and your goals. Now, this might sound like a little bit like, oh, now I sound like I'm on a real diet. But no, like once you do it once you create your meals once, you know how big it is. So for example, let's say my breakfast is going to be oatmeal, protein powder, and berries. Okay, so that's oatmeal is my my fibrous carbohydrate. Protein powder is going to be my protein. Then I've got my berries, and let's just say like I put in a teaspoon of, let's say, coconut oil on top for a healthy fat. So now I've built that one time. I know I'm going to take 1 packet of oatmeal. You know what I mean? Like I know how much is in 1 packet of oatmeal. I know if I put half a cup of berries, I know if I put 1 teaspoon of oil, and if I use half a scoop of protein powder, I know that that's my right amount. So I never have to measure it again. It's that quick grab and go. It's very simple, right? Like you're just like, dump the packet, half a scoop, 1 teaspoon, done. Yeah. So that's where people too, though, they tend to get a little bit, if they're on their plans, people feel really stressed because they're like, if I'm eating for fat loss, what if I'm overeating? You know what I mean? Like, so once you have your core 4 and you understand your portions, they become second nature, that you don't have to go and measure it out again.
Mm-hmm. And one of the things I'm going to add to that, like a little tip that I use personally to make sure that I'm not going bananas with my portions is like for my brown rice, for example, or like, my favorite thing to eat is just like, I make like a spaghetti sauce with like a ton of vegetables in it, ground chicken, and then I eat it on brown rice. Like that's
Yeah.
like one of my go-to, that's one of my core fours. And what I do though is I use actual like measuring cups, like the
Yeah.
like not, but I use a measuring cup to actually put it on my plate. So like, because I make like a big batch, I do a lot of batch cooking, guys, and so like I take a measuring cup and that's how I scoop it out of like the container to put it on my plate. So then I already know, like it's not like I have to sit there and measure. It's like literally like whatever fits in that cup is what I eat. So
Well,
it's
and
so
that's when
simple
no,
for
and
me.
that's such a great tip. And we've been talking about that a long time, but for fit checks, like even
Yeah,
those, you know, those stainless steel bowls, you can get them at like Canadian Tire or at like any like
yeah.
Walmart with the lids on it. I always say too, like make your batch cook your grains and then put in like leave the half cup scoop in there. Don't
I
even wash it and take it out. Leave it in
No,
there.
that's what I do. That's what I do for my cats as well. And I'm not saying
Yeah.
that we're like, but I have a really obese cat, Link. And in order to make sure that he doesn't gain weight and he's on his meal plan as well, because he's got a meal plan, I actually, yeah, we just have like a scoop inside the cat food container, and that's how I just he gets one scoop a day. Like that's I know that. You know what I mean? Like it's so simple that I'm not having to worry if I'm overfeeding him. But it's the same mentality as us. Like it's I don't know. For me, especially with my rice and stuff, because I love to eat like carbs and grains and things like that.
Yeah.
I use that as my tool to be sure. If I'm eating vegetables, I don't, maybe I'll just grab with my hand and stuff like that, whatever. Like
Oh
if
yeah.
it's raw veggies, I'm not super worried about that. But when it comes to my grains, I'm really careful about it. And I know it's like I use the half cup scoop for my rice and that's what I eat. That's part of my core four meal.
Well, yeah, and it's like it's just such an it makes things the thing too, guys. It's about simplifying your life. Like this
Mhm.
strategy too. It's not about making something that oh my god, I need to add another thing I need to do. I need to figure out my core four. It's about
No,
just
it makes
sitting
it way
down
easier.
and doing this work, and then it will simplify your life because a lot of us have no awareness of what we're eating. So I recently actually had a call with a chick who was talking about her client. So
Mhm.
she's one of our students from the Holistic Nutrition Weight Loss Expert Program, and she's working on making meal plan recommendations for one of our assignments for her client.
Right?
And she was like, I literally don't even know where to start with her because she is so like her diet is literally like for lunch is a box of Kraft dinner and a Coke. She's like for breakfast she eats a bagel with butter. For she drinks like 5 coffees a day, and then for dinner she has like a lean cuisine. Like there is no vegetables in her diet. There is no focusing on anything to do with like protein or like she just literally eats.
She just eats to fill the
She
gap
yeah,
essentially.
there's no
To
connection.
fill her body, but there's no like fuel essentially. Like that's how I think of it sometimes. When I think about eating like food like that, I'm like, it's literally when you're like if I'm gonna eat something like that, it's literally like I'm just filling the hunger gap, but I'm
Like
not actually fueling my body. Like I'm not
oh, completely.
because I'm gonna be hungry in like an hour and I'm gonna have no energy and it's gonna make me feel crappy and I'll probably have diarrhea.
But the thing is you get that.
But it
You
took
get
me a long time to get that, of course.
No,
And
but
that's
you
what
get that because you're in the like. So the majority of people out there, and even if you're listening to this podcast, you already are ahead of the game, right? Because you already have an interest in these type of things.
yeah.
But we live in a society now where food-like products have become food. So people think a box of Kraft dinner is actually food. It's not. And people think that, you know what I mean, like eating like a lean cuisine is food. No, it's like there's a few pieces of food in that, but most of it, it's food like granola bars and all these like puffed things and whatever, right?
Yeah.
So we've started to become that we consider that as food, and it's not food. So even, obviously we have to meet people wherever we're at, and there's no judgment for where anyone's at. But even for her, like she was like, oh my gosh, like I don't even know what habit should I even start with. So, for someone who is that much into like so disconnected from the food that they're eating or nutrition or how they're treating their bodies, then of course you'd start with something really small, right?
I know,
Like,
can you imagine if they were given like one of those bro diets? Like if they went to, and this is what would happen a lot of times when they would
yeah,
go to like dinner or something, is that all of a sudden they would go from like that lifestyle. If they didn't have someone who understood, like our student does, like who understood how hard that is and how you have to meet the person halfway. Oftentimes what happens is people go to see like a trainer, they're like, I need an overhaul. And then they go from like that lifestyle to like, okay, now you're going to have like 80 grams of protein with 25 grams of brown rice with 7 pieces of asparagus with this, that, and it's like, what? Like they go into like complete shock mode because it's like, that's crazy. Like,
Well, and not to mention, they're probably not going to go to the bathroom because they're suddenly eating so much fiber, and they're like,
yeah.
their system's like, what? It's like, everything's just going to block up.
Yeah.
But it's like, so that's why, so sorry guys, in the roundabout way, the reason I'm talking about that too, though, is like, these are things though that even if you think, oh, I'm going to go to the book and I'm going to fill out, like write out my core 4 meals based on these guidelines, and you might be feeling like this feels kind of diety, don't. I want you to look at what you're already eating right now. So look at the foods that you regularly eat for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and just even like write down a day that you kind of like what you typically would eat. And then from there, you can build out your core 4. So for example, let's say if you love having oatmeal in the morning and you work and you find that works with your timeline, make that be your core 4 breakfast. But of course, balance it out as the protein, fiber, and fat, and make sure it's the right portion size. The other guidelines too, of course, is that it has to taste delicious. You have to love eating it. Like it has to be something you really enjoy eating, not that you're like, it feels like a diet food. It has to be like fast, under 10 minutes to prepare. I would say even 5. And it has to be ingredients that you have regularly on hand. So like I said, if you're looking, you're like, I already really like oatmeal, like do your oatmeal as one of your core 4. Then for lunch, like, so for example, in the book, I put some examples of like what I eat. So for me, lunch a lot of times is a big salad. So I do 2 things. One is usually they're a big salad with chicken and dressing.
Yeah.
Or I also do, my other one is I do, some people think this is so weird, I do nori wraps. So I make it like a burrito, and I fill it either with like some sort of like canned fish, so either like tuna or crab, and then a mixture of like coleslaw, sprouts, like it's this big weird, and I eat it like a burrito. That's my other one. But I always have seaweed wraps, I always have coleslaw, I always have cans of like crab, tuna, like a lot of different types of fish. So for me, that's always a go-to. And I know if I have nothing fresh even, or if I have barely anything in the fridge, I will always have those things. So it's like one of my go-tos.
My go-tos, just if anyone cares, to sort of like just to give some different variations, because I only eat chicken. It's the only like protein, like meat protein that I eat. So for me, I actually always have cooked chicken. I cook it in the slow cooker, like chicken breast or chicken thighs, depending on usually what's on sale from like the organic section. But I cook it in there in the slow cooker with just like a little bit of sauce. Like sometimes I'll just put like a little bit of like fresh honey and hoisin sauce. I mix it together and I just put it on it so it has a bit of sweetness, but not a lot. And then, because in the slow cooker too, there's so many juices that come out of the chicken that you don't need a lot of sauces, right? It gets really juicy and moist anyways, but it just keeps it from not getting like super dried out. I do that. And then I use that either for salads to put on top of salads, or I bake chicken in the oven, just like plain, and cut it up and put it on salads. But I always have pre-cooked chicken in my fridge. And I use it for either mixing it with salads, which is like one of my faves right now, is like all about a Greek salad with chicken.
I just made quinoa chickpea Greek salad. It was so good.
Yeah, no, I'm like obsessed with Greek salad right now. And then I add chicken to it. And then my other is what I was talking about earlier, that spaghetti sauce. And I make that in my slow cooker as well. I do have an Instapot, but I haven't even opened it yet. Can you believe that, Laura? I bought it like on Black Friday, and I still haven't opened mine. Anyway,
yeah, but it's one of those things. It's like it's like
it's like a big deal to do it. And then
it's even like what we were talking about with your computer. It's like it seems like so much work, but once you do, you'll be like, why the hell did I do this earlier? And then like
100%.
And then you'll be like, this is way better than anything. Like I literally got rid of I gave away my slow cooker actually this weekend. I donated it to
I think I'm just weird. This is total side note, but I think I'm just weird about like new tech things. Because even remember like way back in the day when smartphones came out and someone gave me an iPhone and I refused to use it as a phone, and I only used it for music for a year. Guys, I wouldn't switch my phone over. So I would carry around my flip phone, and then I also had my iPhone, but I only had music on my iPhone because I'm so weird about stuff like this. I don't know why. It's like I resist any kind of like tech change. Anyways. Like those are like the things, like for my spaghetti sauce, guys, all it is literally is like a little bit of tomato sauce, but then tons of vegetables so that I get really full from all those fibrous vegetables. And I add any vegetable I have, like peppers, mushrooms are like the go-to, but then if I have broccoli in the fridge, I'll put it in there. It makes the house really stinky, but it doesn't matter. Sometimes I put cauliflower in it. And it really is just like anything I have, spinach, whatever, especially if I have veggies that are going bad, this is what I do. I make it in there. So then that way there it's like, and then I just have it on brown rice. Sometimes I have it on nothing. I just eat it as is.
But I
It
think,
really depends.
I think this is where though, it's like a lot of people get really intimidated by, you know, healthy eating or by going on like some sort of fat loss plan, because they feel like it has to be so complex and it has to be so many, you know, new foods they don't normally eat and like all of these things. But this is why, guys, I always say like I said, I've done this for years. Like I have my core four. And the thing I love about it too is that like no matter where you go, pretty much these foods will be available. So like if I'm at my mom's house, she will have oatmeal and she will have berries. Or if I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm traveling and I'm going somewhere where they don't really eat healthy, I know exactly what I need to pick up without stressing about being like, oh my God, am I going to have a protein pancake? Or am I going to do a green smoothie? Or I'm like, no, let's keep it simple. Let's keep it simple. Because the harder you make it, the harder it is to stick to. And it has to be something, like I said, it has to be something you like to eat. It has to be something that's easy to prepare. It has to be something that's balanced, and it has to be the right portion size. So you can do that simply, but that's why, like, honestly, take 5 to 10 minutes, write out your core four meals that you already are probably eating. And then the next time you're like in a pinch, because I know, like, having lost quite a lot of weight myself, it's that when you feel like you are not sticking to the plan, you feel like a failure, right? And like you were saying earlier, when you feel like a failure, what do people do? We tend to throw in the towel. We feel guilty. We feel ashamed of our progress. We feel ashamed of our bodies. We turn into a really negative thing and we binge. So it's like, if you have these tools where it's like, you know what, like I just know that this is my basic meals, and then I can figure out the rest of it kind of around it. Or if I'm rushing home, I know exactly what to eat. So I'm not like feeling overwhelmed or stressed. It will take so much off your plate. And again, this is something you could do for the rest of your life because they're foods you like.
And the one thing I want to add to that, just to wrap this up, is also, you know, so many times you hear people say that, like, when I get home, I'm like ravenous. Like you said, like when you go home from school, you're ravenous, whatever. But if you know that your core four meals are like either A, already prepared because you did some meal prepping like I do, like batch cooking, or B, they are things that take about 5 minutes, like your nori wraps or like your big salad. If you already have chicken cooked in the fridge and you're just going to throw it all together, that takes less time than popping like a pizza in the oven. Like one of those frozen pizzas, which are like really gross anyways. Like they don't even taste good. But like,
even though Graham like loves them, he's always has pizzas in the house. And I'm like, ugh.
Really? I think they're so yucky. They're so weird. They just taste like cardboard. Anyways, but maybe there's a good brand out there. I don't know. But what I'm saying to you though is like, it literally, for you, if I already have my chicken or if I already have like my spaghetti sauce made with my rice, and like that takes like maybe 4 minutes for me to reheat. If I had to like go and like, I was like, oh my gosh, I need to eat. I'm so hungry. I'm just going to pop this pizza in the oven. I think they take like almost 20 minutes.
So the other thing too, though, it's like
time and calories, and you're going to feed your body properly. Like there's so much to it, just
totally
from a planning perspective.
But even the whole thing too, guys, is that you should not be ravenous when you get home. So when I give you the example of me in high school, when I was ravenous, that was because I was a carb addict. That was because my blood sugar was so out of whack because I was eating such a carb heavy diet. And even if you just heard what I said, what I ate when I got home, cookies, leftover pasta, crackers, like things that were, again, high carbohydrate, sugar, right? And being in high school, probably for lunch, I was like eating, I probably didn't make a lunch anymore. I was probably eating.
Not eating. Because remember in high school, you're always like, oh, I don't eat, like weird. I don't know if you did that. I was like weird about it. Like I
don't know, but I would probably eat like, you know, a piece of, because of that part at that time, it was like the 90s. So it's probably like the low fat craze. So I probably was eating, you know, dry bagels with nothing else on it, or bagels with jam because it was low fat, you know what I mean? Which again is high carb. So if you are coming home at the end of the day and you are ravenous to the point where you feel like you're going to rip the cupboards off to eat something, that is a deeper issue. So you need to take a step back too. And but the thing is great, once you start eating core four, because you're going to have the protein, fiber, and fat, you're not going to feel that way anymore. Because from lunchtime, or sometimes if you might not even need to eat lunch, then you will end up like keeping your blood sugar balanced. So when you get home, you're going to feel hungry, but you're not like, there's a difference between hungry and ravenous, where like, I will kill someone to get a cracker. You know what I mean? Like, So that's where like this kind of planning too, you're kind of hitting two birds with one stone. You don't even realize, but you're actually balancing your blood sugar at the same time and changing, building, setting yourself up for success, because your body, and I've talked a lot about this on the podcast before, you're fighting a losing battle with your body if you think that like you're without keeping your blood sugar balanced, or if you think that it's you and your willpower, like your body will overcome that with cravings like you can't believe. Like when your body's out of whack, the cravings are going to be so intense that you will rip the cupboard off to eat. You'll probably try to eat the cupboard. But that's why, but that's your body talking to you. That's your body telling you like, I am out of balance. Something's wrong, because it shouldn't be like that. But easily fixable with diet and lifestyle changes, and starting with one simple strategy, like what we talked about today. So I think that's all we wanted today.
So download the booklet.
Yeah, it's going to be, the link to download it's going to be on our blog, which is going to be along with this. It's at fitchixacademy.com. Go to, we'll also post the links around this video. But basically, yeah, if you go there, there's a section about the core 4 meals. Your core 4 meals, they're your basic plan. They're the 4 meals that are going to be like your go-tos. And again, just to recap, we want a breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snack. So you know in any situation what is your kind of go-to meal. Each of your meals has to contain a protein, fiber, and a fat. They also have to be the appropriate portion size, because we don't want these massive portions that are going to throw us out of whack. And also, if your goal is fat loss, we have to be aware, of course, of how much we're eating, because in order to lose fat, we do have to be in a caloric deficit, which means less calories in than we are putting out. And then it has to be something you like. It has to be easy to make, and it should be ingredients you always have on hand. Like they should be things that you second nature every time you go to the grocery store. You just know, you know, those are the things you refill before. You don't even have to look at your list.
Yeah.
And that way, and that way you're going to have a base. You're going to have a really good base that's going to set you up for success for the long haul. Okay, guys. So with that, we're going to let you go. Make sure you head on over, download the book. Also, don't forget, we have our Holistic Nutrition Weight Loss Expert program, our certification program, coming up starting May 7th. So you can get more information on that at fitchixacademy.com, where we talk a ton about these strategies. We teach you how to incorporate them in your own lives and become a holistic nutrition and health coach, and help other people start to learn from these strategies as well. So lots of good stuff coming up with that. And lastly, we want to make sure we hear from you guys. So anytime that, of course, you know, you think of something that you want us to talk about, or if there's something that we're talking about you want us to expand on, or whatever it is, please let us know. So either DM us on Instagram at FitChicks Academy, or on Facebook. You can send us an email at info@fitchicks.ca, and let us know what you guys want us to talk about, because of course we want to be sharing things that really help you live your best, most amazing life.
Exactly.
Okay, Chiquitas, have an amazing day, and we will talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.